Behind each layer of the dust of time are stories that defy imagination. From the haunting beauty rituals for the dead in ancient Mexico to strange forgotten gods and treasures sunk deep beneath icy seas. Every discovery is like a piece of a puzzle, opening up a world where ancient mysteries continue to stir the curiosity of people today. Let's explore each of these stories in today's video. So fasten your seatbelt as we dive into today's mystery. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. The ancient Mexican ritual of beautifying the dead. In the ancient city of Teotihuacan, once the glorious center of early Mexican civilization, archaeologists have uncovered a truly unique and somewhat haunting custom that speaks volumes about how the people of the past viewed life and death. Unlike the typical funerary rites we might imagine, the aristocracy here practiced a particularly striking tradition. After the first burial, the body of a loved one would be exhumed, and priests, along with family members, would painstakingly beautify the deceased's face and hair using luxurious cosmetics. This ritual was not just about outward appearance. It was deeply tied to the belief that a well-groomed and beautiful visage would help the departed soul gain respect in the afterlife and be more readily welcomed by the gods. The powders, red pigments, fragrant oils, and rare mineral colorants used in these ceremonies were meticulously prepared and reserved exclusively for the elite class. Only those of high status and great wealth could afford to hold such an elaborate cosmetic ritual. What's more, the pigments used to adorn the dead were often sourced from distant, precious mineral mines, a further demonstration of the owner's wealth and elevated position. Once the ritual was complete, the body would be reburied, now with its fresh makeup, surrounded by valuable objects such as jewelry, masks, and protective amulets. The practice of beautifying the dead in Teotihuacan was not only an expression of the longing for immortal beauty, it also stood as a vivid testament to social status and the deep connection between power, religion, and death in ancient society. Beneath those glittering layers of cosmetics lay an entire system of values, complex beliefs, and countless untold stories from a mysterious era in Mexico's past. The mysterious salt god of Bulgaria. In northeastern Bulgaria, where old fields stretch beneath the sky, archaeologists have uncovered a captivating mystery at the ancient salt mine of Provia Solnitsa. Amidst the ruins of a once bustling city thousands of years old, they discovered a small yet unusual idol. This figure bears a strange face, with clearly defined eyes and ears, but completely lacking a mouth. The lines etched on its features give it an appearance that is both familiar and foreign, as if to represent a forgotten deity. Experts believe this is a symbol of a salt god, a divinity never before mentioned in any of the world's major mythologies. The appearance of this god has raised many questions about the role and meaning of salt in the lives of ancient people. For the inhabitants of this region, salt was not merely an ordinary seasoning. It was a precious resource, valued as highly as gold and silver. In antiquity, salt was even used as a form of payment for Roman soldiers. The word salarium was born from this very practice, and its legacy still lives on in English today through the word salary. It was this essential and rare value that made salt the focus of special beliefs, where workers in the salt mines paid respect to an invisible force they trusted would ensure their community's prosperity and safety. The archaeological discoveries at Provia Solnitsa extend far beyond the odd little statue. Scientists have also found important traces such as sacrificial pits, large burial grounds, and places where the salt idol was once hung above the entrances to houses. All of these point to a site that was once a center of ritual and worship for a community deeply connected to salt. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about this find is the way it reminds us that, although history has recorded many great mythologies with familiar gods of war, the sea, love, or the harvest, countless other beliefs have faded away over time. The salt god of Provia Solnitsa stands as vivid proof that buried deep in the current of history, there remain many mysterious deities and strange beliefs that we have yet to discover. The nuclear problem beneath the sea. Lying deep beneath the frigid waters of the Arctic Ocean is a silent graveyard that has become a source of concern for scientists around the world. Here, the remnants of the Cold War era still rest quietly on the ocean floor. Tens of thousands of objects containing radioactive substances, mainly from nuclear reactors, nuclear submarines, and the industrial waste of the former Soviet Union, with the highest concentration around the Novaya Zemlya region. Beneath that layer of frozen silt lies a threat few can truly imagine. It is the risk of radioactive leakage that could continue quietly for tens of thousands of years, powerful enough to affect both the Arctic ecosystem and the safety of humanity in the future. Among nearly 17,000 objects buried deep beneath the ocean floor, the majority are only low to medium-level radioactive waste, sealed in metal drums that have rusted over time. Yet, hidden among that enormous number are 6 particularly dangerous objects, regarded by experts as the rotten apples in an entire barrel. These 6 include reactor compartments that once belonged to famous submarines such as the K-11, K-19, K-140, and K-27, as well as a uranium reactor taken from the Lenin icebreaker and the K-159 submarine, which sank during a fateful towing operation. These alone hold more than 90% of the region's total radioactive material, becoming ticking time bombs whose moment of explosion no one can predict. The task of handling and salvaging these objects is enormous, not only because of the depth and harsh conditions of the Arctic Ocean, but also because the estimated cost could exceed $315 million. That is no small amount, especially considering that, for now, no country has actually set aside a budget to resolve this problem. What is even more troubling is that both Russian and European experts have issued warnings about the level of danger, agreeing that this is an environmental time bomb that humanity cannot continue to ignore forever. Strange creatures of the deep sea. Beneath the dark ocean off the coast of California, where light is almost completely swallowed up, scientists have discovered a strange creature that left the entire research team both laughing and amazed. At a depth of more than 2,000 meters, they encountered a small, soft, and semi-transparent organism, drifting gently like an innocent ghost in the depths of the sea. This being had such a peculiar appearance that the researchers gave it the playful nickname, the pig butt worm, because its shape was almost identical to a pair of pink buttocks fluttering in the endless darkness of the ocean. But what makes this creature remarkable is not only its appearance, but also its unique abilities. When touched or threatened, the pigbutt worm immediately emits a mysterious blue light from its body and secretes a bright green, glowing slime. This unusual luminous effect not only makes it stand out in the dark waters, but also serves as a clever defense mechanism. In an environment where darkness and predators constantly lurk, the ability to glow, like a dance of lights in the heart of the deep sea, allows this tiny creature to easily confuse or drive away its enemies. The discovery of the pigbutt worm not only brought laughter to the scientific community, but also opened up an entirely new perspective on the world of deep-sea creatures. It is estimated that up to 90% of the species in the deep ocean remain a mystery to humanity. Each time an exploration submersible plunges into the midnight zone, it feels as if one is opening the lid of a surprise gift box with no idea what strange thing will be found next. The ocean remains an inexhaustible treasure trove of wonders yet to be discovered, a place where even a tiny creature can leave us in awe of nature's diversity and creativity. The Justinian Plague. In the year 541 AD, when the Eastern Roman Empire was at the height of its power, a terrible shadow suddenly swept through Constantinople, the most magnificent center of the ancient world. A mysterious epidemic seemed to appear out of nowhere, spreading at a speed never seen before and sowing utter fear among millions of inhabitants in the city and across all the lands ruled by Emperor Justinian. Contemporary historians described how each passing day saw tens of thousands of people fall, the streets crowded with corpses, and everyday life rapidly drowned in grief and panic. For many centuries, the cause of the epidemic remained a mystery. People of the time believed it to be the wrath of the gods, a strange curse, or a sign of the end of the world. It was only in modern times, thanks to advances in science and genetic research on the victims' remains, that the mystery began to be unraveled. Scientists have identified the true culprit as the bacterium Yersinia pestis. This is the very same microbe that haunted generations under the infamous name of the plague, or Black Death. This discovery not only helped decode one of the darkest chapters in European history, but also revealed a direct connection between the Justinian plague and the terrifying outbreaks of plague that swept through Europe centuries later. What is even more surprising is that recent genetic studies have revealed that there were not just one, but three major plague pandemics that once devastated Europe throughout history. The first wave occurred much earlier than historians had imagined, emerging in the Neolithic era nearly 6,000 years ago. The disease originated in the east, crept across the steppes of Russia and Ukraine, and then quietly entered the European continent. From there, in each period, the plague continued to mutate, spread, and become a nightmare shared by the entire continent during three horrifying resurgences. This discovery not only changes our understanding of ancient pandemics, but also opens a new perspective on the complexity of the links between civilizations. The plague was not just a story of Europe alone, but was actually part of a long journey from east to west, closely tied to the great upheavals in human history. It is this realization that reminds us that many events we thought belonged to just one land are, in fact, the result of much broader connections and movements between cultures, between people and nature, in the endless flow of history. The missing pilots of World War II. Recently, in the waters surrounding the small islands of the Republic of Palau, a lengthy search operation by the United States military has revealed a poignant chapter from World War II. After years of being hidden beneath the waves and layers of sand, the wreckage of military aircraft lying deep beneath the ocean has finally been discovered. Salvage experts have recovered the remains of pilots and crew members, individuals who had been listed as missing for over 7 decades, lost in the fierce aerial battles over the skies of the Pacific. For many families, this is not merely an event of scientific or military significance, but a journey to reclaim a fragment of their loved ones' unfinished memories. The process of searching for and identifying the remains is an effort to bring home the answers that, for so many years, they had anxiously awaited. Though the war itself has faded into the past, the pain of those who never returned still lingers in every generation. What is remarkable is that, even after so many decades have passed, America still has more than 72,000 people missing from World War II, most of whom were members of the Air Force and Navy. Each recovery mission, each fragment of bone found on the ocean floor, not only closes a major question of history, but also offers hope to families who yearn to light a candle for their loved ones amidst the unending flow of time. This story reminds us that, though the war may be distant, its mysteries and shadows endure, haunting us to this very day. The mystery of the Milky Sea. Far offshore, there are nights when the ocean suddenly glows with a radiant, mysterious white light, an otherworldly brightness that sailors have long called the Milky Sea. Old records from the 19th century recount how, in the quiet of the night, as ships glided across the waves, the entire world around them would unexpectedly come alive. The surface of the water would transform into a luminous, enchanted expanse, as if someone had poured a giant cauldron of milk into the sea. Sailors of the past, bewildered and uneasy, believed they had strayed into haunted waters or witnessed some miraculous gift from nature. They described the scene as if it belonged to a surreal dream. A sea of glowing white stretching all the way to the horizon, the hazy light rising and falling with each wave, making everything seem more magical and unbelievable than any legend. It was only in modern times that scientists gradually uncovered the real secret behind this shimmering veil. Rather than a miracle, the Milky Sea is created by billions of bioluminescent bacteria gathering in immense patches, which, under the right conditions, all glow together and ignite vast swathes of ocean in light. Under the microscope, each organism appears as a tiny point of brightness, but when billions of them shine at once, the sea dons a dazzling ball gown that nature seems to have designed just for the ocean. Even now, though the cause is known, many mysteries remain unsolved. What enables these bacteria to synchronize on such a vast scale? Why do immense stretches of water suddenly transform into a shining Milky Sea in the blink of an eye? The answers are still hidden beneath the waves, continuing to challenge human curiosity with every passing century. The legend of the ancient dwarves. From the pages of northern myths in icy lands to distant cultures in Africa, legends of ancient dwarves seem to have always existed, becoming an inseparable part of humanity's imagination. Tales of tiny beings living hidden beneath the earth, serving as guardians or keepers of ancient secrets, have been passed down for generations throughout northern Europe, Poland, the Slavic regions, ancient Greece, and even Egypt. Each land has its own way of telling these stories, but they all share a common thread: the image of a mysterious underground world. In Egypt, the god Bes, a deity who protects families, music, and happiness, is often depicted as a small figure with a thick beard and a humorous face. Bes is not only a symbol of good fortune, but also a protector of children and women within the household. Across the ocean, on the beautiful Hawaiian Islands, people recount stories of the Menehune, a race of dwarf craftsmen said to be the land's original inhabitants. Despite their small stature, they were renowned for their skill in building ancient irrigation systems and peculiar stone walls, evidence of a level of engineering that later settlers could only marvel at. These legends do not exist solely in myth. Certain archaeological discoveries have raised intriguing questions about the possible reality of such mysterious dwarf communities. Remains of ancient structures built from massive stones, arranged with meticulous care and order, suggest that there may have once been groups of small people living alongside larger tribes, leaving behind a distinct mark in the history of humankind. They might have existed in parallel, holding close their secrets of craft and daily life, until those traces gradually faded away, leaving behind only mysterious stories handed down from one generation to the next. The legends of dwarves are not merely confined to the boundary between reality and fantasy. They reflect humanity's longing to explore the unknown and our belief in small but extraordinary forces capable of making a great difference. These stories have enriched our collective imagination and remind us that, deep beneath the earth, or hidden in the forgotten corners of history, there may still be secrets waiting to be discovered. The mysterious transatlantic voyage of Abu Bakr II. Deep within the pages of Arab history and the collective memory of the African continent, there exists a strange story of a journey across the ocean, unlike any other in human history. The story begins in the early 14th century, when the Mali Empire was at the height of its power. When Mansa Musa, the most famously wealthy and powerful king in all of Africa, arrived in Cairo during his pilgrimage, he told an Egyptian official about a remarkable event that had changed the fate of the Mali Empire and perhaps the course of world history. According to Mansa Musa, he ascended to the throne only because his predecessor, Abu Bakr II, had relinquished the crown to embark on a grand expedition. The king before him, always restless about the world beyond, decided to equip as many as 2,000 great ships and prepare for a voyage across the ocean, seeking lands never before known. The expedition set out westward, launching themselves into the vast Atlantic, and from that moment on, not a single one of them ever returned. As a result, the empire's power naturally passed to Mansa Musa, who became ruler in that turbulent period. The story of Abu Bakr II and his immense fleet quickly became a topic of conversation and inspiration for generations to come. Some bold theories suggest that they may have been the very first from the Old World to set foot in the Americas, more than a century before Columbus's famous journey. Certain historians even believe that the Mali expedition might have established small communities on the far shore of the ocean, leaving faint traces in the culture and heritage of indigenous peoples. Yet for hundreds of years, the tale has remained shrouded in unanswered mysteries. Most records of the journey rely on Mansa Musa's account and a handful of Arab documents. Specific archaeological and historical evidence has yet to be found. Scholars continue to debate the event's authenticity, as the traces of that great expedition remain little more than a thin mist on the river of human memory. Still, whether fact or legend, the transatlantic voyage of Abu Bakr II remains one of ancient history's most unusual stories. It not only reveals humanity's boundless desire to explore, but also raises questions never fully answered about the possible connections between civilizations long before the first official pages of history were written. Life on the wreck of Shackleton's Endurance. Beneath the icy layer of Antarctica, where there is only darkness, crushing pressure, and eternal cold, the legendary wreck of Shackleton's Endurance still lies silently at the bottom of the Weddell Sea. More than a century after the ship became trapped and sank into the depths, scientists have finally found it, almost perfectly preserved, as if time itself had never touched it. But the most surprising thing is not only the remarkable state of preservation, but also the strange residents that have chosen this place as their home. Once a historical relic, Endurance has now become a 5-star hotel in the Antarctic Ocean, drawing together all kinds of sea creatures never before known. Marine biologists were astonished to find the ship's hull covered with a diverse and bizarre community of life. There are living fossils, such as sea lilies, anchored to the wooden frame, stretching out their delicate arms to catch every current of cold water. Even more curious is the presence of giant crabs and anemones clinging tightly to the rudder, as if they were standing guard over the ship, along with starfish with long, sweeping legs that constantly scour for drifting food, and sea squirts shaped like small blobs of jelly but possessing primitive spinal cords. In the eternal darkness and sub-freezing temperatures, these creatures have developed extraordinary adaptations. Some fish possess blood filled with natural antifreeze, so they will not freeze. Others secrete proteins to protect their cells from damage, and altogether they have formed a rich ecosystem in a place where life once seemed impossible. The space surrounding the Endurance wreck appears to be a gathering point for some of the greatest biological mysteries of the modern era. Each expedition can bring back entirely new species that have never been documented in any scientific record. The journey to explore life on the wreck of Endurance not only helps us understand more about the resilience of marine life, but also opens up hope for great discoveries in the future. In these seemingly motionless, icy waters, life quietly persists, adapts, and diversifies from generation to generation, reminding us that even at the edge of the world, nature never stops writing its miraculous and surprising stories. The North Korean ghost boats. Along the desolate shores of Japan, the sight of rotting wooden boats washed up on the sand is no longer unusual. Yet, what haunts people most is not the weathered shapes of these boats, but rather what lies deep inside them. At times, authorities or local residents discover human remains, and sometimes nothing more than bleached bones hidden among the decaying planks and torn tarps. Such boats have been given a chilling name: North Korean ghost boats. The origins of these vessels can be traced back to the coasts of North Korea, where fishermen struggle against a harsh and unforgiving life. In search of fish far from shore, they willingly leave behind familiar waters, facing fierce waves and bitter winter cold. Many have perished at sea from hunger, freezing temperatures, or sudden accidents when their boats break down in the open ocean. When these victims cannot return home, their boats, and sometimes their bodies, become wandering phantoms, adrift and carried wherever the tides of fate may send them. However, the continuous appearance of these ghost boats on the Japanese coastline not only brings sorrow over the tragedies of anonymous lives, but also sparks many unsettling theories. Some believe that among the unfortunate victims, there could be spies or defectors desperately trying to escape from North Korea in hopes of finding freedom or a new life. Whatever the truth may be, every time the waves carry another abandoned boat onto the sand, it serves as a haunting reminder of lives lost at sea, of a powerful longing to survive, and of the mysteries the ocean has yet to reveal to humanity. The lost suitcase of history. Sometimes, history hides itself in places no one would ever expect, waiting for a moment of chance to appear and surprise the entire world. The story of the old suitcase that once belonged to Howard Carter, the legendary archaeologist who excavated the tomb of Tutankhamun, is living proof of that. Nearly a century after Carter discovered the greatest treasure of ancient Egypt, a seemingly ordinary personal item of his was unexpectedly found, not in a museum or a national archive, but quietly sitting under the bed of an ordinary family in England. That suitcase once accompanied Carter through the harsh days in the Valley of the Kings, where history was made as the tomb of Tutankhamun opened to the light of the world. Inside the suitcase were papers, documents, and perhaps even artifacts directly connected to that legendary journey of discovery. More than just its material value, the suitcase also held silent stories, unwritten pages of history about the days Carter and his team faced mysteries and challenges in the heart of the desert. When the suitcase was found, many people shivered at the thought of the Pharaoh's curse. Even the expert assigned to bring the suitcase to the auction house could not hide his anxiety, feeling cautious and tense before the weight of history and the unexplained mysteries that seemed to come with it. Some say that sometimes bad luck and things that cannot be explained follow such artifacts, adding yet another layer of mystery to all the stories around them. At the auction, the suitcase, marked by the passage of time and with Carter's initials engraved on it, quickly attracted everyone's attention. The starting price was not high, but in just a moment, it soared as history enthusiasts realized the true value of this object. Because this was not simply an old suitcase, it was a direct link to one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of archaeology. In the end, the suitcase was sold for a price many times higher than expected, becoming a treasure that any collector or museum would dream of owning. The rare Roman weapons cache and helmet in Denmark. In a small valley in Denmark, history seemed to awaken when archaeologists unexpectedly discovered a remarkably rare cache of ancient weapons. More than 100 artifacts were buried deep beneath the ground, each one carrying a silent story of battles and the interplay between ancient civilizations. The most extraordinary highlight of this treasure trove is the only Roman helmet ever found on Danish soil. A piece once thought to belong only on distant southern battlefields, now lying quietly in the cold northern lands of Scandinavia. The helmet, though marked by the passage of time, still retains the proud features of the Roman warriors who once dominated the battlefields of Europe. Beside it are countless spearheads, swords, fragments of armor, and bronze necklaces, all carefully arranged and buried as if in a solemn ritual after the fighting had ended. No one knows for certain who the true owners of these weapons were, nor do we know why they were interred together in this way. Perhaps they were trophies collected from a fierce conflict, or perhaps they were offerings to the gods after victory, or memorials to those who fell on the field of battle. What astonishes researchers most is the presence of the Roman helmet in this cache. In ancient times, Denmark lay far beyond the borders of the Roman Empire, and yet the traces of southern civilization have appeared in this mysterious way in the distant north. This convergence is revealed not only through the sharp blades of the weapons, but also in the craftsmanship of the jewelry and the careful arrangement of the burial site. Every artifact found adds another piece to the complex puzzle of connection and influence between Rome and the ancient tribes of northern Europe. This discovery not only changes traditional understandings of cultural boundaries in the ancient world, but it also reveals a far deeper and more dynamic interaction than what historical records have ever suggested. The northern warriors may have fought, traded, or even stood side by side with Roman legions on new campaigns of conquest. The rituals of burying weapons and armor reflect spiritual beliefs, reverence for the dead, and the hope for divine protection after each brutal battle. Today, as people gaze at these intact relics beneath the ancient soil, they not only hear echoes of battles long past, but also see, more clearly than ever, the blending of two great civilizations. The weapons cache and Roman helmet found in Denmark stand as proof of a vibrant period in history, a time when people from distant lands met, clashed, mingled, and left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of Europe. The curse of the ancient sorceress in Jerusalem. Beneath the deep layers of ancient Jerusalem, a city marked by countless historical upheavals over thousands of years, archaeologists made a haunting discovery while excavating a Roman villa hidden directly beneath a modern parking lot. There, they found a small lead tablet nearly 1,700 years old, considered one of the most mysterious artifacts ever uncovered in this land. Etched onto the surface of the lead tablet were lines of ancient Greek, clearly conveying the contents of a terrifying curse written by a female sorceress named Scylla. The story of this lead tablet began with a tense legal dispute when Scylla sought to eliminate any chance of victory for her opponent, a man named Lennis. Relying not only on earthly law, she turned to the power of supernatural forces, pleading for the intervention of 6 gods from different cultures. On the tablet, Scylla inscribed the names of deities from Babylonian, Gnostic, and Greek traditions, such as Hermes, Pani, Hecate, Hades, and other mysterious names, hoping these mighty beings would silence and paralyze her adversary, rendering him unable to argue or resist. What especially drew the attention of archaeologists and religious scholars was the unique blending of multiple beliefs within a single amulet, revealing that society at that time experienced deep cultural and spiritual exchange. They recognized that Scylla was not alone. Many in the ancient world believed in the power of magical rituals, especially when faced with conflicts too intense for reason or law to resolve. That small lead tablet not only opens a window onto the secrets of the ancient spiritual world, but also reflects the anxiety, fear, and intense faith in supernatural powers held by people long ago. Furthermore, this discovery has enriched Jerusalem's treasure trove of heritage, helping us better understand an era when the boundaries between reality and illusion, reason and magic were always intertwined and nearly impossible to separate. The papyrus records of the Egyptian pyramid builders. Recently, thanks to his persistence and passion for discovery, researcher Pierre Tellet followed ancient notes that led him to a remote desert region in Egypt. There, he uncovered a system of limestone caves, more than 20 in total, that had remained untouched for thousands of years. Hidden deep within these desolate stone chambers was a massive cache of construction materials once used by the ancient Egyptians. At first, it was believed that these caves served only to store wood, stone, and other resources needed for the construction of grand monuments. But the greatest turning point of the excavation came with a discovery that stunned the world. Amid the dust of ages, Pierre found rolls of papyrus inscribed with hieroglyphs, believed to be diary pages written by the very workers who built the Pyramid of Giza. These are considered the oldest papyri ever discovered concerning the construction of the Khufu Pyramid, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. In these simple yet vivid lines, members of the building crew described their daily work in detail, how they transported massive stone blocks from the quarry to the construction site by boat, and how different teams of workers coordinated to complete their tasks. They recorded even the smallest details, from moving materials to meals and rest, all carried out with scientific organization and discipline. The truth revealed through these pages has dispelled all myths and doubts surrounding the origins of the Giza Pyramid. No longer is there room for theories of aliens or supernatural intervention. The papyri proved that the Great Pyramids were, in fact, the product of ancient Egyptian labor. These were skilled workers, paid fairly, who could plan and organize, who were dedicated and took pride in the monument they helped create. This evidence not only clarifies one of humanity's greatest mysteries, but also reminds us of the value of labor and the strength of human will. These simple diary entries connect past to present, leaving an immortal mark of a time when people could turn dust and sand into wonders of the world through intelligence, solidarity, and tireless perseverance. Ancient stone circles and mysterious architecture on the Orkney Islands. Amidst the deep blue seas of northern Scotland, the Orkney Islands stand out as a living museum of prehistoric mysteries. More than 7 millennia ago, while much of the world was still grappling with the forces of nature, a group of courageous people crossed the sea to set foot on these islands. They were the first to create monumental stone structures, helping to transform Orkney into one of the most prominent ancient cultural centers in Europe. Across these wild meadows, traces of prehistoric civilization remain visible through stone circles like Stenness and Brodgar, as well as ancient tombs constructed with remarkable sophistication. Despite thousands of years of relentless wind and rain, these stones still stand tall beneath the open sky, defying all conventional explanations of construction techniques and the organizational capacity of early societies. Many scholars have been amazed to discover that the arrangement, structure, and forms of Orkney's stone circles show striking similarities to contemporary monuments as far away as the Mediterranean. This resemblance is found not only in their outward appearance, but also in the ways they were used for rituals, in the choice of locations, and in the alignment of the structures according to astronomical rules, all reflecting the religious thinking and cosmic knowledge of their creators. Archaeological discoveries reveal that the ancient people of Orkney did not stop at building stone circles. They also developed systems of stone tombs, dry stone watchtowers, and sturdy communal houses, reflecting a society with organized labor, clear division of roles, and a strong emphasis on community cohesion. Here, each circle or tomb served not just as a site for personal worship, but as a place for community gatherings, ceremonies, large meetings, or commemorations of important tribal events. What makes Orkney truly special is the extensive cultural exchange it reveals. Many theories suggest that the builders of these stone monuments may have once come into contact with Mediterranean civilizations, or that they brought building knowledge northward from the south during long migrations by sea. Although the full nature of these connections remains unclear, such subtle links are enough to suggest a distant era when the flow of knowledge and culture was not limited by geography. Today, anyone who visits Orkney and stands among its ancient stone circles cannot help but be awestruck by the scale and magnificence of works created by the hands and minds of our distant ancestors. It serves as a reminder that, even in the dawn of time, people sought one another out, shared knowledge, learned, and connected, together creating immortal marks upon the natural world. The fossilized snakeflies of ancient times. In the field of paleontology, there are discoveries that may seem small at first glance, but carry immense significance for our understanding of the evolution and adaptation of insect species. One such story is that of the fossilized ancient snakeflies, a group of insects that existed more than 50 million years ago. Scientists in Canada were astonished when they found fossils of 4 new species of snakeflies embedded in ancient rock layers in British Columbia. Snakeflies are predatory insects, slender in shape, and today are mostly found in temperate regions. Previously, experts believed that this group only adapted to cold climates, since modern snakeflies are now restricted to areas with harsh winters in the northern hemisphere. However, the recently discovered fossils tell a completely different story. These fossil samples reveal that ancient snakeflies not only lived in cold regions but also thrived in forests with much warmer climates than today. This finding has raised major questions for scientists about the changing distribution of snakeflies over tens of millions of years. Why did a species that once inhabited warm climates become increasingly confined to only the coldest places? Was this due to global climate change, or did other ecological factors lead to the retreat of snakeflies from tropical regions? This discovery not only broadens our understanding of the history of snakeflies, but also helps explain how insects in general adapt, evolve, and migrate in response to the dramatic environmental changes on Earth. The story of the snakefly fossils stands as evidence of the natural world's flexibility and extraordinary survival skills, while also hinting at further mysteries surrounding the history of our planet's shifting climate. Seafaring civilization of the Stone Age. With the light of new discoveries, human history seems to be opening up an entirely different chapter, one in which achievements once thought possible only in modern times had already existed in the distant prehistoric past. The story of the seafaring civilization in Southeast Asia 40,000 years ago is a compelling testament to this. When the first remains were discovered in the Philippines, archaeologists were astonished by the evidence showing that ancient people here had already become master sailors. Traces of meticulously crafted stone tools, tightly braided ropes, primitive fish hooks, and the bones of deep-sea fish such as tuna and even sharks all painted a completely different picture of prehistoric people. They not only lived by the sea, but mastered vast stretches of open water, overcoming limits once thought impossible for their era. At a time when Neanderthals still existed in Europe and most of humanity on other continents was still struggling with the most basic survival skills, people in Southeast Asia were already conquering the sea, using maritime techniques and offshore fishing methods that humanity would only begin to rediscover tens of thousands of years later. Researchers, after analyzing wear marks and cuts on the tools, realized clearly that they had been used to make ropes, nets, and to build boats large enough to withstand the waves. In fact, the discovery of fossilized parts of wooden boats and related objects inspired modern maritime experts to attempt to reconstruct ancient boats using traditional methods. These vessels were not only able to float, but could actually cross oceans, face large waves, and carry people to lands hundreds of kilometers away. Even more remarkable is the fact that this achievement appeared at a time when the rest of the world was still plunged in the dangers of the Ice Age. Yet, in Southeast Asia, people did not hesitate to face nature's greatest challenge, the sea. They not only built boats, but also possessed knowledge of currents, monsoon winds, and the ability to navigate across vast oceans. These are skills often thought to emerge only with advanced agricultural societies. The discovery of net fragments, fish hooks, and large fish bones at coastal sites has shown that they did not merely fish along the shore, but ventured into deep waters where only the most experienced sailors could survive. Beyond that, modern experiments have demonstrated that boats built using traditional methods are fully capable of withstanding rough seas and are sturdy enough to link distant island groups like the Philippines and Indonesia, and could even reach farther into the Pacific. Looking back at the entire journey, it becomes clear that the prehistoric boat builders and sailors of Southeast Asia paved the way for a seaborne migration era, changing the way we understand the spread of humanity across Asia and the Pacific. Human history thus becomes far richer and more extraordinary than what has ever been recorded in books. These ancient sailors were not only the first to conquer the oceans, but also living proof of the desire to explore and the unyielding spirit of mankind from the very dawn of time. The Black Silver Treasure. Deep within the heart of the Atlantic Ocean, a secret long forgotten for more than 2 centuries suddenly returned to the light when Odyssey Marine Exploration discovered the wreck of a Spanish warship dating back to 1804. Known as the Black Swan Project, this operation not only shook the world of archaeology, but also ignited one of the largest treasure disputes of the modern era. When Odyssey's experts brought the discovery up from the seafloor, crates filled with glittering gold and silver coins appeared, sparking an excitement never seen before. The treasure included 17 tons of silver and gold coins, with a total estimated value of up to $500 million, a figure that stunned the entire world. Yet the joy was short-lived, as the treasure quickly became the center of a fierce legal battle lasting for years between 3 countries, the United States, Spain, and Peru. Spain claimed ownership of the treasure, stating it was the property aboard their warship, while Peru also laid claim because a large portion of the coins had been minted in colonial-era workshops in Lima. Meanwhile, Odyssey Marine sought to be recognized as the legal owner based on the effort and expense they had invested in searching for and salvaging the treasure. The lawsuit spanned multiple courts in the US and internationally, becoming a hot topic for the media and the global community of history and adventure enthusiasts. In the end, after years of debate and a series of rulings, the court decided to return the entire treasure to the Spanish government. Odyssey not only lost the treasure but also had to cover the costs of the lengthy litigation, closing one of the most dramatic treasure disputes in modern history. The story of the Black Swan Project stands as vivid proof of the endless allure of mysteries beneath the ocean, where greed, the passion for discovery, and the pursuit of justice are constantly at odds beneath the deep blue waves. The skeleton of a medieval Scottish knight. In the heart of the ancient city of Edinburgh, a place that once witnessed duels of honor and fierce contests, archaeologists have uncovered a site that has surprised historians: the skeleton of a medieval knight, identified as Robert Morley, who fell in 1388 during a heroic tournament. This discovery not only opens a doorway to the brilliant past of the Middle Ages, but also reveals mysteries about the lives, the glory, and the cost of honor for the warriors of that era. Through the study of the skeleton, experts determined that Sir Robert Morley died while still very young, with a powerful physique marked by numerous healed wounds from previous combats. Beneath the ancient earth, these long-healed injuries, such as a sword slash to the head and an arrow wound to the chest, tell the story of a courageous fighter who not only participated in tournaments, but also narrowly escaped death on many occasions. Yet fate was sealed when his opponent's sword, during the final match, cut across his nose and chin, bringing an end to a life filled with glory, but also marked by peril. Beside the skeleton, archaeologists also found a large stone slab carved with the image of a cross. This was a familiar symbol among medieval knights, marking the site as an arena where tournaments of honor once took place. This discovery not only brings to life the world of the warrior aristocracy, but also shows that the tournament was not simply a place to display strength, but a venue to honor courage, the pursuit of glory, and the highest codes of chivalry. Today, amidst the modern bustle of Edinburgh, this site still stands as a proud reminder of a heroic past, a place where young knights once lived and fought, leaving an indelible mark on the city's history and in the memory of generations of Scots. The ancient bear skeleton, domesticated in China. In Henan province, archaeologists stunned the research community when they unearthed an almost intact skeleton of a black bear dating back approximately 2,800 years. What makes this discovery remarkable is not only the ancient age of the skeleton, but also the evidence suggesting that this bear had been cared for by humans since it was young. After analyzing the left front leg bone, experts noticed signs that the bone had once been broken and then healed. This is extremely rare among wild animals, since, with such an injury, a young bear in the wild would have little chance of survival. From this clue, scientists concluded that the bear had been raised and cared for by ancient humans, nursed back to health after its injury, and kept until adulthood. The skeleton was found in a sacrificial pit alongside many ancient artifacts from the Western Zhou period, suggesting that the bear was not only domesticated as a companion animal, but may also have played an important role in religious or sacrificial rituals. The practice of raising and using bears in ancient ceremonies reveals both the level of social organization and the complexity of spiritual life among early Chinese people. Research on this skeleton has opened an entirely new perspective on the relationship between humans and wild animals in ancient Asia. Our ancestors were not merely hunters or rulers over nature. They also knew how to raise, protect, and utilize large animals for spiritual life, customs, and even for offerings. Thus, the story of this ancient bear skeleton is not simply an archaeological discovery, but also helps to illuminate the long history of animal domestication in the East, a heritage that still holds many mysteries waiting to be explored. The mystery of the unnamed artifact in Michigan. The story begins in the early days of the Michigan History Museum, when someone quietly donated a wooden artifact of an unusual shape. It was in 1913, a time when mysteries could still be easily concealed beneath the dust of the past. From the moment it arrived at the museum until today, this strange object has never been deciphered. No one has been able to determine exactly what purpose it once served. Was it part of an ancient boat, a tool, or perhaps even a weapon used by people long ago? All of these ideas remain mere hypotheses, with no concrete evidence ever recorded. The artifact's mystery only deepens due to the complete lack of records or documentation about its origin. The only thing researchers have been able to confirm is that it came from an abandoned mining town in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, an area once renowned for its iron smelters and vibrant charcoal production at the end of the 19th century. Because of this absence of background information, even modern archaeologists remain powerless to answer what the object truly is or what it was used for. The Michigan Museum once released a video introducing this artifact, hoping to find someone who could recognize or definitively identify its true function. However, the riddle remains unsolved. Today, the object sits in the museum's collection of unidentified artifacts, representing the layer of mystery and history that has yet to be unveiled. It not only puzzles experts, but also fascinates anyone with a passion for exploring the lingering oddities of America's past. Every time someone stops before this artifact, they cannot help but wonder, is this a clue to a bigger story about the lives and technology of those who once settled Michigan, or simply a lost fragment that time has long since forgotten? The Joint Burial Tomb in Spain. At the El Argar archaeological site, researchers have uncovered a strange ancient tomb dating back to the Bronze Age. Inside, there were not just one but two sets of human remains, buried side by side in a special position. One was a woman, the other a man, and the items buried with them have revealed many secrets about the ancient society that once existed on the Iberian Peninsula more than 3,000 years ago. What impressed archaeologists most were the precious objects found in the tomb. The woman was buried with a sparkling silver crown, a symbol of high status in that society. In addition to the crown, there were dozens of exquisite pieces of jewelry, including bracelets, rings, earrings, a silver goblet, and beautiful ceramic vessels. Altogether, the artifacts amounted to nearly 230 grams of silver, a huge amount for the ancient world, equivalent to almost 1,000 days' labor at the time. The fact that the woman was interred with so many rare treasures led researchers to believe that she was not only a figure of high standing, but could also have been the queen of the El Argar civilization, one of the most splendid cultures of Bronze Age Spain. What was discovered in this tomb has contributed to changing the scientific community's perception of the power and role of women in ancient times, showing that they once held leadership positions and possessed considerable wealth. Lying beside her was the skeleton of a man, believed to be her husband or companion. Unlike the woman, he was buried with only a few grave goods, mainly simple weapons, indicating a significant difference in status and social role. According to the archaeologists' hypothesis, the man died first, and when she passed away, it was she who requested to be buried with him, bringing all her wealth and authority with her into the afterlife. This discovery not only opens a new window onto the El Argar civilization, but also emphasizes the power and influence of women in the ancient world, something rare in many other contemporary cultures. That joint burial remains a vivid testament to the enduring mysteries about the true role of women on the stage of European history. Mammoth bones in Michigan. Amid the tranquil wheat fields of Michigan, a surprising discovery has left many scientists astonished. When a farmer and his friend were digging an irrigation ditch, they unexpectedly struck something hard about 2 meters below the surface. At first, the pair thought it was just a rotting piece of wood buried over time, but as they dug deeper, what appeared before their eyes left them overwhelmed. They uncovered enormous bone fragments, shapes unlike any animal they had ever known in modern times. Realizing the significance of their find, they immediately contacted the Museum of Paleontology at the University of Michigan. In a short time, scientists and students arrived on the scene, carefully excavating each layer of earth around the ancient skeleton. The bones gradually emerged, so large that specialized equipment was required to move them. They found a skull with soaring, curved tusks, ribs, shoulder bones, and even several intact vertebrae. According to paleontologists, this is one of the best preserved mammoth skeletons ever discovered in Michigan. Preliminary analysis shows that the mammoth was an adult individual that lived between 15,000 and 11,700 years ago. The fact that the skeleton was buried deep beneath the earth, surrounded by cold mud, helped preserve its bones almost perfectly after tens of thousands of years. This discovery not only enriches the fossil collection of Michigan, but also brings valuable data for research into the environment, climate, and ecosystem of the Ice Age in America. Every mammoth skeleton unearthed is a vital piece in helping scientists decode the life, survival habits, and extinction of these great creatures that once ruled the frozen plains of the Northern Hemisphere. Such discoveries also spark our curiosity about the ancient world, about the giant beings that once walked this very land. Stone Age fire. Making tools in Israel. At an archaeological site in Israel, scientists have discovered vivid evidence of a remarkable leap in human progress during the Neolithic period. Ancient fire-making tools, estimated to be up to 8,000 years old. These were not matches as we know them today, but carefully crafted stone rods used to create friction and sparks, tools for lighting fires, to warm shelters, cook food, and ward off wild animals. This discovery sheds light on how our ancestors once struggled against a harsh natural world, and it also shows that they had already learned to apply basic principles of physics to everyday life. What makes these tools particularly interesting is their cylindrical design, perfectly sized to fit in the hand. When rapidly rotated against a wooden or stone surface, they generate enough heat to ignite tinder. This is the first clear evidence that prehistoric people in the Near East had invented tools to help kindle fire, rather than simply relying on embers from lightning strikes or wildfires. The finding not only changes our understanding of ancient humans' adaptability, but also marks a crucial turning point, helping humanity escape the darkness of cold caves and take the first steps toward civilization. The ability to create fire at will ushered in a new era, one in which communities could protect themselves from predators, prepare more nutritious food, and even gather around the hearth to share stories and pass on survival skills. These primitive fire-making tools, though humble in size, were in fact the foundation for humanity's long journey toward mastering nature, building society, and developing culture, ultimately giving rise to the first great civilizations of the Near East. The Strida treasure in Poland. In 1985, as workers were demolishing an old building in the town of Schroeder, they had no idea they were about to come upon one of the most famous medieval treasures in European history. Amid the rubble, a broken ancient jar appeared. its interior filled with silver coins dating back to the 14th century and many precious gold florins. However, what truly astonished archaeologists were the exquisite pieces of jewelry and royal treasures, most notably a magnificent golden crown set with sapphires believed to have once belonged to Queen Blanca, the wife of Charles IV, the powerful emperor of the Holy Roman Empire during the Middle Ages. The Strida treasure held not only the crown, but also pendants, gold rings, gemstone-encrusted earrings, and many other rare artifacts. Each object carries with it a story of power, wealth, and the turbulent history of Europe's Dark Ages. According to historians, the treasure was likely hurriedly buried during the period when the plague swept across Europe, a catastrophe that claimed millions of lives, left cities in ruins, and forced kings and nobles to flee, hiding their precious possessions to protect their families. The Strida treasure is not merely a material legacy. It is also wrapped in mysteries about the fate of Queen Blanca, the final days of her dynasty, and the chaos of the medieval era. Its discovery attracted the attention of researchers worldwide and has helped shed light on many unanswered questions about life, faith, and upheaval in European history. These sparkling jewels continue to fascinate and arouse curiosity, bearing witness to a period of grandeur that was also marked by tragedy in the shadows of plague and war. The Han nobles' gold treasure in China. Beneath the earth in Jiangxi province, China, a stunning archaeological discovery took place in 2015, sending shockwaves through the research community and the global world of exploration enthusiasts. While excavating an ancient cemetery, archaeologists found the tomb of a noble from the Western Han dynasty, which existed from 26 BC to 24 AD. Inside this tomb, they opened two large boxes containing as many as 187 large gold coins, coins whose brilliant beauty and precious metal sheen had endured more than 2,000 years underground. Nearby were 25 solid gold ingots cast in the shape of horseshoes, each one sturdy and reflecting the immense wealth of the tomb's owner. The discoveries did not end there. Archaeologists also uncovered many jade artifacts, most notably a pendant decorated with dragon and phoenix designs, two spiritual creatures symbolizing power, luck, and supreme status in ancient Chinese culture. Finely crafted bronze items decorated with intricate patterns further enhanced the value of the treasure. All the jade pieces, in particular, were recognized as proof of the extraordinary craftsmanship of Western Han artisans, reflecting sophisticated aesthetics and outstanding skill. After months of excavation and research, the total number of artifacts recovered from this tomb exceeded 10,000, making it the largest and most complete collection of gold ever discovered in a Han dynasty tomb. One gold coin alone weighed as much as 250 grams and, at the time of discovery, was valued at over $8,600, demonstrating the extraordinary opulence of the ancient Eastern nobility. This ancient tomb not only helps scientists better understand the wealth and power of the aristocracy under the Western Han dynasty, but also raises new questions about metallurgy, craftsmanship, and the economic development and trade of one of the most prosperous dynasties in Chinese history. The diversity and integrity of the treasure have made this find one of the greatest archaeological achievements of the century, attracting worldwide attention and admiration from history enthusiasts everywhere. The mysterious Copiale cipher. One of the stories that has fascinated archaeologists and codebreakers around the world for decades is that of the Copiale manuscript. This is a handwritten document, stretching over 105 pages and filled with strange characters mingled with Greek and Roman letters, as well as abstract symbols, a manuscript that resisted all efforts at decoding for more than 260 years. It was only when international researchers from the United States and Sweden collaborated that the secrets of this manuscript were gradually revealed, ushering readers into the mysterious world of a secret society that once existed in 18th century Germany. Once deciphered, the contents of the manuscript unveiled the existence of a secret society known as the Oculists, a group with a special interest in the medical field of ophthalmology. Not only did it describe in detail the initiation rituals of the society, but it also revealed that the Oculists placed great value on peace and promoted harmony among different races, religions, and nations. Members saw themselves as enlightened ones, entrusted with spreading knowledge and maintaining an ideal community, much like the objectives of the renowned Freemasons of that era. Remarkably, the Copiale manuscript also contains detailed instructions for performing eye surgery, an extraordinary advancement for European society in the 18th century. Modern historians believe that the oculists embraced many progressive ideas and served as inspiration for later secret organizations. Although the society was eventually banned, what remains in the Copiale manuscript shows that this is not merely a riddle of the past, but also a testament to humanity's longing for connection and progress. The journey to decipher the Copiale manuscript is like opening a door through time, allowing us to delve deeper into the world of secret societies, as well as the development of science, medicine, and progressive thought in European history. The story of the Oculist Society continues to captivate all those drawn to the unresolved mysteries of humankind. The mass child sacrifice of the Chimu in Peru. In Peru, on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, archaeologists have uncovered chilling traces of one of the largest mass sacrifice rituals ever known in human history. Around 550 years ago, during the final days of the flourishing Chimu civilization, 140 children and 200 young llamas were sacrificed in a rain-invoking ritual held on land near the ancient city of Chan Chan. Archaeological evidence shows that the children, ranging in age from just 5 to 14, experienced excruciating final moments. Their bodies all bear cuts across the chest, signs that their hearts were removed as part of a sacred ceremony. Beside the children's remains were the bodies of young llamas, the Chimu's most prized offerings, also slain in a similar manner. All were carefully buried side by side, proving that this was no random act, but a large-scale, deliberate, and meticulously organized sacrificial ritual. Geological studies reveal that during this period, Peru's coastal region was struck by relentless droughts, plunging Chimu society into water shortages, crop failures, and hardship. When hope had all but vanished, powerful priests chose to offer up the most precious things they had, their innocent children and herds of llamas, in the desperate hope of winning the gods' favor for life-giving rain. Yet, even after paying this terrible price, history records no sign of the saving rains. Not long after, the Chimu Empire was conquered by the mighty Inca civilization, bringing an end to its glorious era. This discovery not only exposes the haunting reality of the Chimu's final, extreme rituals, but also reveals the depths of desperation faced by a society confronting disaster, forced to make heartbreaking choices in hopes of securing survival for the community. To this day, the mystery of these horrific sacrifices continues to haunt researchers and the public alike, prompting reflection on the limits of faith and the price paid by ancient civilizations. The first metal prosthetic hand of the Bronze Age in Switzerland. In 2018, on the shores of Lake Biel in Switzerland, archaeologists discovered a truly unique artifact, a bronze hand adorned with a gold border, dating back as much as 3,500 years. This remarkable object astonished experts not only for its exquisite craftsmanship, but also for the symbolism and mystery it has carried through thousands of years. The metal hand is smaller than a real human hand, with the wrist designed as a hollow socket, allowing it to be attached to the end of a stick or handle. This special feature led scientists to conclude that it may have been used in religious ceremonies, serving as a symbol of power or a sacred object. Other theories suggest that, with its unique design, the hand might once have been used as an early prosthetic for an important figure in that society. What makes this discovery so extraordinary is the rarity of precious metals such as gold and bronze in Bronze Age tombs across Europe. Grave goods from this period were typically made of stone, pottery, or, at best, a handful of copper items. This metal hand was buried with an adult man, alongside jewelry, hairpins, and fragments of gold that matched the decoration on the wrist, indicating that the tomb's occupant held a very high social status or played a special role in communal rituals. The presence of the bronze hand has also raised unresolved questions. Was this a symbol of divinity, a treasured possession of a chieftain, or perhaps the oldest prosthetic hand ever crafted? Although its exact purpose remains unconfirmed, archaeologists agree that this discovery has enriched our understanding of the spiritual life, beliefs, and metalworking skills of prehistoric people in Switzerland. The Desert Mummy Cemetery in China. Amid the harsh deserts of Xinjiang, archaeologists have discovered an ancient cemetery containing hundreds of nearly perfectly preserved mummies, dating back about 4,000 years. What makes this discovery so mysterious is that these bodies were not only preserved exceptionally well by the arid environment, but were also buried in wooden boats, even though there are no rivers, lakes, or seas anywhere nearby. The graves are scattered across the yellow sands, each mummy carefully placed inside a boat covered with cattle hides and accompanied by paddles and various grave goods, as if they were preparing to embark on a new journey along an imaginary river to the afterlife. Genetic analysis has revealed that those buried here were descendants of hunting and gathering groups that existed since the Ice Age, carrying distant origins and unique burial customs. They lived in the vast heart of the desert, isolated from other cultures, yet preserved the boat burial tradition, a practice otherwise common only among coastal or riverside communities. This has left scientists puzzled, searching for answers to the question, why would people living in a dry desert choose to bury their ancestors in wooden boats? Was the boat a symbol of the final journey, connecting the world of the living and the sacred beyond? Or was it an ancient memory of river journeys passed down through countless generations? Not only is the burial method unusual, but the mummies themselves are striking in appearance. Many have light-colored hair, long faces, and wear finely woven handmade clothing. Their presence in the heart of the Taklamakan Desert, far from any ocean, remains a major mystery with no definitive answer. This cemetery, together with its ancient boats, has become one of the most fascinating secrets of Asian archaeology, opening a window into cultural exchange and the extraordinary creativity of humanity throughout history. The 1850 American slave tag in Charleston. In 1853, on the grounds of the College of Charleston, researchers happened upon a small artifact bearing the heavy weight of history. A metal slave tag that was once worn by people forced into slavery. This tag was not just a record confirming the owner's legal claim over another human being, but was also part of a strict system of control that existed for centuries on American soil. Each tag was stamped with a serial number along with the trade or function of the enslaved person, and served as a kind of legal license when the slave was lent out or transferred between different owners. The discovery of a slave tag in the heart of one of America's most famous universities not only brings viewers back to the darkest days of history, but also compels reflection on the tragic past endured by millions who were stripped of their freedom, dignity, and even their right to be human. These small tags were bound to the fate of nameless individuals, serving as a reminder to future generations of a society where injustice was once sanctioned by law. Today, each time we look back, we are forced to confront the value of freedom and human dignity. This artifact is not only a rare surviving witness to a dark era, but also a bridge helping us gain a deeper understanding of the wounds that still haunt modern America. Thanks to discoveries like this, history is not forgotten. It becomes a lesson for everyone to cherish the value of equality and human rights in today's society. The Roman time machine in South Shields, England. In the town of South Shields in northeastern England, archaeologists have unearthed a Roman fort nearly 2,000 years old. This site has been dubbed a time machine because of its rare level of preservation, opening a vivid gateway for modern people to look back into the distant past of the misty island nation. The fort lies near the banks of the River Tyne, not far from the mighty Hadrian's Wall. This structure once served as a strategic stronghold, playing a crucial role in the northern border defenses of the Roman Empire in Britain. But what especially drew researchers' attention was the massive system of granaries, up to 24 sturdy storage buildings constructed to safeguard wheat, grains, and other foodstuffs. These storehouses were once the lifeblood, not only for the hundreds of soldiers stationed at the fort, but also for the Roman army working day and night to build Hadrian's Wall, a defensive marvel stretching 117 kilometers and marking the northernmost boundary of the empire. The granary system reveals the extraordinary level of organization, planning, and logistical ability of the Romans, enabling them to maintain military strength and social stability in a remote and often turbulent land. Through layers of earth buried for thousands of years, Archaeologists have found traces of soldiers who came from many corners of the empire, from Syria and Iraq to regions along the Mediterranean, all contributing to the multicultural tapestry of Roman Britain. The ruins of the fort also bear witness to daily life, from the small houses of soldiers to the food processing workshops, training grounds, and communal spaces. Seen from today, the South Shields Fort is like a time machine, taking us back to the golden age of ancient Rome, a place that once saw stories of courage, conquest, and extraordinary efforts to adapt to a harsh landscape. This site is not only living historical proof of Roman power, but also a reminder of the value of organization, discipline, and adaptability, qualities that allowed the empire to survive and flourish for centuries. Flesh-eating bacteria. At Myrtle Beach, a popular tourist destination in South Carolina, the story of one woman has become a sobering warning that has startled many travelers into reflection. It all began with what seemed like a minor incident. While moving along the balcony of her hotel, she accidentally slipped and suffered a small scrape on her leg. Thinking it was just a superficial wound, she wasn't particularly concerned and continued her vacation, heading down to the beach like countless other tourists. However, the unexpected soon happened. After soaking in what seemed to be refreshing seawater, the scrape on her leg became unusually red and sore, then quickly turned purple, blistered, and swelled up. That night, her condition deteriorated rapidly. She developed a high fever, her blood pressure plummeted, and a deep, aching pain spread throughout her body. When she finally reached the hospital, doctors discovered that she had contracted flesh-eating bacteria, a highly dangerous microorganism capable of destroying soft tissue at a terrifying speed. The fight to save the patient's life became more critical with each passing hour. Doctors were forced to perform emergency surgery to remove the necrotic tissue and at the same time administered powerful antibiotics to prevent the bacteria from spreading throughout her entire body. At one point, her prognosis indicated she had only a 10% chance of survival and even faced the possibility of having part of her leg amputated. Fortunately, the tireless efforts of the medical team managed to save her life, although the subsequent recovery process was long and challenging. This story serves as a practical warning for anyone planning to enter the ocean with an open wound. Seawater contains countless bacteria invisible to the naked eye. Just a small scrape can make the risk of serious infection all too real. This is a wake-up call for all who think of the ocean as always safe and pure, because sometimes the real dangers lie hidden just beneath the surface of those seemingly tranquil waters. If you found these mysterious stories intriguing, please leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on our next discoveries. See you in the next video.